Podcast here on Q94.1. The other gentleman in the, nope, Rick, it's that way. There you go. That's Lee Aber. And he is our guest. He's going to be at the Lincoln Parish Museum. And that will be on Thursday. We're going to get going here in just 1 second. Really unique topic, the story of turtle trapping in Louisiana. It is 8:30. I am Rick Godey in the studio here. We have lit up the Facebook pages and streaming this because the Lincoln Parish Museum is going to have its second event, and it will be on Thursday night, this coming Thursday, totally free, 7 o'clock. And in the studio here this morning, the writer, producer, director of an award-winning documentary from 1984. It's called Something Nobody Else Has, the story of turtle trapping in Louisiana. Gentleman's name, Mr. Lee Aber. Lee, how you doing, my friend?
Doing well, Rick.
All right, good. So how you doing, my brother-in-law?
That's true. Good to see you in all your glory behind the microphone and with the earphones on.
Yeah, I got the headsets. All right. Something Nobody Else Has, the story of turtle trapping in Louisiana. What inspired you? Where was the moment when you said, of all the topics and of all that you could have done and made a documentary on, you know what? Let's do it about not just the turtle, but the alligator snapping turtle. When and where did that moment come?
Well, my wife and I had just moved to Ruston back in '81, and I've always been a reptile enthusiast, mostly snakes, but a friend came by and told me about some turtle trappers out on Kepler Lake, which I think is in Webster Parish, maybe Bienville. Mm-hmm. So we went out there, the sun was going down, and a couple boats were coming in. And he had told me what they were trapping, and it was hard for me to believe. I had never even heard of the alligator snapping turtle. But each boat had at least 2 or 3 big ones in there, anywhere from 50 to 80 pounds. Their heads were as big as mine, and I just couldn't believe it. So the more I talked to them, the more I said, what are you doing up here? You know, they were from South Louisiana. Well, we're kind of depleting them down there. We're up here trying to catch them. And I had made some documentary films, and I just thought it would be a good topic, and that's where it started. And there was a film festival in Baton Rouge a few weeks later. I had formulated the idea, went down there and met some filmmakers. I went by LPB, went by the Division of the Arts and Humanities Councils and asked them if I were to produce a show like this, would you fund it or play it? And they said, if it's quality, we will. Mm-hmm. So that's how it started. All
right, so that was, 1984?
Or it was 81.
81, okay.
Yeah, we finished it in 84.
It does take time to produce, and when folks come to the Lincoln Parish Museum Thursday night, 7 o'clock, brief introduction is what we're going to have. It's a 30-minute, 29-minute documentary that's already been on PBS, the BBC, and the Discovery Channel. Then have a question and answer, and I got to say, Lee, and for full disclosure to the audience, you're an ex-Yankee, I'm an ex-Yankee too, so this is a total 100% Louisiana-made film about a total 100%, well, that's not true because I'm thinking of the guy from Georgia, right?
Yeah, there's, Louisiana is where the markets are.
Right.
And that's where when folks would trap the turtle, they'd bring it here to market here. Louisiana folks will eat anything, South Alexandria, and this turtle's one of them.
Right.
And they're delicious. But there's no more commercial trapping of them.
Right. And so in the course of this, and the best laid plans of Mice and Aber and your co-producers in this, you had a vision, you had an idea, but then you never knew that you'd capture Paul Prudhomme. You never knew that you'd be able to get the Jacques Cousteau's crew on film, and you never knew that you would get the gentleman, and where was him and his son? He was training his sons how to literally trap these turtles with their bare feet.
Right. There was no laws on how to take turtle, no time of year, and there was very little information on them. The only folks I met were people that trapped them, and they were saying they were being depleted. Mm-hmm. So once you have an idea, it starts rolling on its own, and you start explaining it to people you want to interview. If they have a dog in the hunt, if they're interested, it's a real easy thing to do. Back in the early 80s, back in the 1900s, there wasn't a lot of filmmakers. I mean, there was no VHS tapes. I mean, there was no way for people to enjoy them at home. So we were kind of a one-man show going around the state and elsewhere, and got a lot of good reception. And like I said, documentaries like this, they take on a life of their own once they get going.
Right, right. As proven again, I mean, you didn't plan to get Paul Prudhomme or the Jacques Cousteau crew, who just so happened to be in New Orleans, or the guy in down. What's his name? The one who has his son Joe in the water, and you,
Isaac Briscoe.
Isaac Briscoe, and you literally filmed him and his three sons. Well, he stood on the bank, but his three sons went underwater to pull one up,
Right.
and that wasn't planned for. You
No.
you just so happened to be there.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time in South Louisiana tracking these folks down, and when we found them, 9 out of 10 were completely willing to talk to us, unless they had something going on where they didn't want to be on film. But Cousteau was making a film for the World's Fair, and contacted us because he said our trademark is underwater footage. Well, we had no underwater footage, but I didn't let him know that. So I traded anything he wanted of mine for an interview on the Calypso, which was parked there, docked in New Orleans.
Right.
And we did that.
Right, and the film, but also, this is the New Orleans 1984 World's Fair. You got a week, or was it 2 weeks that was showed there?
1 week.
1 week.
We showed it 11 times a day for a week, on the hour, and I got some stories about that if you come to the showing.
Yeah, that's why we want folks to hear the message, share the message, come to the Lincoln Parish Museum, because that's where we're going to take time. Because once you see this, it's a very powerful thing, Lee, and I'm not trying to puff you up. There's something about this turtle and that just strikes the inner core of a person. And this is not, quote, an environmental film, although it's an environmental film. And the native Louisianians do realize that they have a treasure and it's being harvested at a great extent. But at the same time, it just stirs something up within the soul of the people that watch it. What do you think that is?
Well, if I don't know.
You know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, I do, and it. I guess all I can say is it did the same thing to me when I was out on Kepler Lake. I just thought this is too amazing an animal to not lift up and show folks and what's going on around it. And there was quite an industry around it when I got into it.
Right.
And the live turtle was selling for $1 a pound back then. And people would go out, catch 3 big turtles a night, make $300 a night. They didn't have any problem doing that. And it was going on quite a bit. Mm-hmm. And this turtle grows a lot different than others. It takes 11 to 20 years to be mature enough to reproduce. Their generations are 30 to 40 years, and they only lay about 20 to 28 eggs a year. So it's not, they're not like other turtles.
And they're not like rabbits or wild boars.
No, they're not. And so we, it's just, I don't know what would stir someone. There's people that aren't that way with the turtle. They look
Right.
at it and go, why would you even bother with that? But,
Well, it's regulated now. What's the plight of the turtle that you know of?
well, right now, this kind of spearheaded some studies on the turtle back in the 80s. Now it's protected commercially throughout its range, which is many states. And Louisiana and Mississippi are the only 2 states that allow recreational taking, and at that you can only have 1 turtle per day per person. And if you've got 5 people in a car, there's only allowed to be 1 turtle in that car. So that's what's going on. It's the Endangered Species Act is considering listing it as threatened. When something's listed as threatened, they see it being endangered in the foreseeable future. Its international trade has been cut short. So.
Something Nobody Else Has, that's the title, and it is the story of turtle trapping in Louisiana, is this coming Thursday, 7 o'clock, absolutely free, at the Lincoln Parish Museum, and doors will open at 6 p.m., and there are so many coincidences, which really aren't coincidences when you think about it, of how this film actually came, this documentary came to be, one of which is the Lincoln Parish Museum. Had it not been for the Lincoln Parish Museum and Historical Society, you may not have had a nonprofit to source the grant money that you received through, correct?
No doubt about it. The grant deadlines were coming close within a month, and of me having the idea, maybe 2 months. And I went to the Museum and Historical Society and got permission to use them work through them as the nonprofit umbrella to write these grants for this Division of the Arts and Humanities money. So had they not acted quickly and agreed to sponsor me, then I don't know if I would have had the energy to continue to pursue it. But it was a comedy of errors that worked out really well.
Sure enough. And folks, you want to see the product of that, the proof of that, be there Thursday night, Lincoln Parish Museum and Historical Society, 609 North Vienna. Lee Aber, the writer, producer of it, will be answering all sorts of questions. Like, we could be there till midnight. That's okay too, right?
Yeah, sure.
All right, Lee, man. Thanks so much for your time.
You bet, Rick. Thank you.
You're welcome. There he is, Lee Aber in the studio here this morning on Q 94.1.